Back in 2020, Netflix released a brand new fantasy series called Cursed, and though the show had the potential to be great, mixed reviews early on led to the show's unfortunate, and perhaps undeserving, cancellation. It is no secret that fantasy is currently one of the hottest genres in the entertainment industry, from blockbuster movies like Wicked to trendy novels like A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's no wonder then that streamers like Netflix are constantly searching for fantasy stories to add to their platform. From The Witcher to The Sandman, Netflix is constantly trying out new material. One fantasy story that briefly got some time in the spotlight is Cursed. This 10-episode series is a reimagining of the myth of King Arthur, and follows a young heroine named Nimue who teams up with Arthur, long before he became king, to deliver a magic sword to the warlock Merlin. Despite being cancelled after only one season, Cursed had plenty of strengths. The show starred the likes of Catherine Langford and Daniel Sharman. Additionally, Cursed showcased a familiar story through completely new eyes, pulling on themes familiar to modern viewers. So, many may be wondering, what went wrong? Netflix's Cursed was an underrated addition to the streamer's fantasy lineup. What was good about Cursed? Only a year after Cursed first premiered on Netflix, the show was cancelled. This announcement came as a disappointment to those who watched and enjoyed the series, but it also killed a budding opportunity for Netflix. As previously mentioned, the streaming platform is constantly trying to find new titles that will captivate viewers, and fantasy is a particularly popular genre. By cancelling Cursed, Netflix did itself a disservice. Cursed offered up an interesting fantasy story with solid source material and a strong cast, then quickly threw in the towel when the reviews were not outstanding. The best thing that Cursed had to offer was a fresh take. More often than not, fantasy shows and movies are derived from books or myths, making their stories predictable in a sense. However, by reimagining King Arthur, Cursed had the opportunity to completely veer away from what audiences anticipated, creating a new and exciting story. On top of that, Cursed gave fantasy viewers plenty of the details they usually enjoy, including violent sword fighting, standout heroes, and a highly stylized world. Yet, the first season seemed to not be enough for many audiences. Why Cursed didn't get much love from critics or general audiences? What Cursed could have done better? Cursed Arthur with Crown. On Rotten Tomatoes, Cursed has a 65% critic score and a 52% audience score. At face value, these are far from being the worst scores in the world, but they ended up being the show's death sentence. For the most part, viewers were left feeling lukewarm about Cursed. Although they were intrigued by the premise and the potential of the series, the first season ended in a way that produced more questions than answers. In a sense, Cursed Season 1 fumbled audiences' interest by not being bold enough. To many, it felt like nothing actually happened in Cursed. In hindsight, Cursed's lackluster reception probably could have been fixed in a few simple ways. Mainly, Cursed needed to have a more enthusiastic and energetic beginning. Rather than trying to weave a complex story from the beginning, Cursed should have focused more on its main character and developing her story. Furthermore, Cursed would have benefited from a faster pace. With more action instead of fantasy world-building, Cursed could have held viewers' attention long enough to merit a second season. Unfortunately, following its cancellation, the fantasy series never got the chance to reach its fullest potential. Cursed deserved better than its mediocre reception and cancellation. Netflix may be cancelling series too soon. Devon Tell as Arthur in Cursed. Although Cursed was not necessarily a hit, the show still deserved more time to prove its worth. Once again, a 65% critic score is not too bad, and Cursed clearly had a much more exciting story to tell if given a bit more time. Cursed should have received the benefit of the doubt from Netflix, allowing it another season to improve. This may seem overly generous, but without this second chance, Cursed simply becomes a waste of money, and a project that viewers inevitably forget about in the midst of endless streaming options. All in all, Cursed's fate reflects a growing problem between viewers and Netflix. The streaming platform will release a new series that garners a dedicated fanbase, but will cancel the show after only one season due to viewership numbers. Inevitably, this leaves a large portion of Netflix audiences upset and feeling distrustful of the platform. Ultimately, Cursed is one of many tragic Netflix shows that should have been given so grace, but instead, will be swept under the streaming rug.